How much land area can be treated with a single tank or charge on the Mankar HQ series CDA plus ULV sprayers? First, let's look at charge. A fully charged Mankar will operate for about 8 hours continually. Now, the energy requirements for the spinning disk atomization system there is very, very modest. It's only about 3 watts. We're only using modest amounts of energy there, and with improvements in battery technology, that means you can get a full 8 hours use of a single charge. So a full day's spraying basically from a single charge. Now, the tank on the Mankar spray is only 1 litre. So how much are you going to get out of that? Because it's a CDA plus ULV sprayer, you actually get quite a lot out of that single litre tank. CDA technology means that you can actually use less active ingredient per hectare and get the same result. So you could have a dramatic reduction there and the amount of chemical used. And because you're spraying it neat, that 1 litre tank can actually treat an entire hectare for weed control. Being the case, if 1 litre can treat an entire hectare, what does that actually mean in practical terms in how much time and effort it's going to take to spray? So let's put this in context. Common applications for Mankar HQ series sprayers are for between rows of plantings. So you're not spraying the entire area, you're spraying between rows of plants in, say, a Christmas tree growing site or something like that, where you want to spray the weeds between the actual trees that you're growing. Another common application is spraying on sort of curbsides and pathways. So you're spraying kind of strips rather than blanket covering an entire area. Let's think about those sort of contexts and what that actually means in practical terms with the parameters we've just discussed in terms of how much area that 1 litre will actually treat. So if we imagine we've got a 50 centimetre spread from our Mankar sprayer, so we're walking along and we're spraying 50 centimetres as we walk along, and walk at about 1 metre per second, so that's 3.6 kilometres an hour, which is roughly how fast you'd walk when spraying. So if you imagine that, we want to apply a rate of 1 litre per hectare. If you imagine a hectare is 100 metres by 100 metres, it would take 100 seconds to walk the 100 metre hectare, covering 1 strip of 50 centimetres wide, and then in a 100 metre by 100 metre hectare there'd be 200 of those strips. So each strip would take 100 seconds. With 200, that would take 20,000 seconds to cover the whole hectare, which is about 5.5 hours. That 1 litre delivered at a 1 litre per hectare rate is about 5.5 hours of spraying and walking from a single tank. Now, if you put that in the context of a curbside or in between rows of plantings, that's actually 20 kilometres of walking of curbside or width between rows of plants that you're treating on a single tank. Now, if the required strip is actually thinner than 50 centimetres, then it'll last even longer. So if it was only a 25 centimetre strip you're spraying, then it would be 10-11 hours worth of spraying 40 odd kilometres from a single tank. Now, obviously for heavier applications, if you're looking to apply more than 1 litre per hectare, those times are going to change accordingly. That should give you some idea of how long these tanks will last. The battery life is never going to be a problem. You're going to get a whole day's spraying out of that quite easily. And then a single tank should last you for 5-6 hours, maybe more, depending on that spray width of actual spraying from a single tank before you have to refill it.